Let's go. Good morning, everybody. We're now streaming live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Zoom. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, DJ CJ. Good morning, Bluebeam community. Welcome to the Morning Coffee Review. Today is August 24th, and it is a beautiful Tuesday. We had finally got some rain past couple days up here. I'm very excited about that. I got my plants that are missing. They're enjoying the weather outside today. How are you doing today, Michael?
Doing good. We're going to have a heat wave roll through, so I think all of our rain is done for this season. But other than that, it's a great morning. Ready to have some fun today in this series.
Speaking of having fun today, what are we going to do? Because we didn't do a preview video. We've been kind of slacking on the LinkedIn preview videos, but we'll try to get those back going. Today is a special one. Today we're going to do something that we haven't done before, but we kind of have done some of these things before, because what we're doing is, the whole purpose of this Morning Coffee Review is to help the community and to grow the community and be part of the community, right? A lot of us are using Bluebeam. Some of us have never used it. Some of us are just figuring out different tips and tricks and things like that. And throughout this series, we get a lot of questions. And today is going to be one of those. It's all about questions. So can you define this a little further, Michael?
Yes. So today we decided, as always, we do leave it open to the community to always ask questions about anything pertaining to Bluebeam. But sometimes questions don't get asked. They get asked more at the end during the survey time, which is completely fine. Usually we're able to answer some of them, or sometimes we're not able to answer them. So what we decided today is not have a topic, because maybe that is more engaging for everyone here in the audience to then ask questions versus us going through a topic. So we've left it open for you to ask any questions pertaining to Bluebeam. If you have a more engaging questions about who we are, feel free to ask those as well. If you want to learn more about Jason or myself, feel free to ask. So we'll leave it all open for everyone. The way we'll fill it in time is we have the survey at the end, usually, where you can ask any questions you had. And we still will always have this survey rolling, so feel free and please fill it out at the end. We need to know how we're doing, otherwise we can't be bettering ourselves. But I've taken and compiled a bunch of questions, and I'm going to keep doing that as we're going along, as Jason will be able to answer them and show his screen as we're kind of going back and forth trying to answer these. But before we start on the survey questions that people have had over the time of us starting the series, we'll leave it open for all of you. So if anyone here in YouTube world or in the Zoom world as well, please ask any questions you have pertaining to Bluebeam, or pertaining to who Jason and I are, or who ATG is. We can also answer any questions there as well.
All right. So in the Zoom world, we see the question and answer panel in the chat. Feel free to type them in. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and type those in as well, because our DJ CJ will be relaying them to us over here on Zoom. So we got our first question from Brian. Is there a recommended best practice to plot, print to PDF using the Bluebeam driver that does not result in such a large PDF? This is a good question, because sometimes when you print to a Bluebeam PDF, it is pretty big. Now, are you printing from AutoCAD or Civil 3D or Revit? Because there is a print driver that gets installed with Bluebeam, right? That's the Bluebeam PDF.pc3 with AutoCAD. And you can use that same thing when you're printing from Word or Excel or whatever. And I don't do a whole lot of printing from AutoCAD, really, or Civil 3D. So I haven't experienced these large file sizes, but I've heard of this before. There are a couple things that you can do, and some of those settings can be, you can do them in whatever native program you're printing from. But when you come into Bluebeam itself, there are a couple other things that you can do to get this file size down, right? There is that reduce file size function here under document, and you can also reprint it, right? And this is saving it, and this is that formatting thing that Michael has talked about before, that I always forget where it is.
I always recommend too, what a lot of folks don't check is the DPI output, just right off the bat from whatever the default DPI setting is. Review is a more intensive writer for all of the metadata that you're getting from your document. So check your DPI, try reducing it, see if it's not having that much of a reduction in the quality of the PDF. So usually I've seen people starting out at 600 DPI. You can realistically get to about 350 of an export. That's going to reduce your file size a lot as well. So I would go and just check the additional advanced settings from your export of your software from the writer of what you're using. And then the other things that Jason's going to be going to. So you were saying the reduce file size and what else?
Check the document properties.
Yeah.
So this is found under document properties. You can always hit Control D to get to this as well. And sometimes, make sure that it is an actual Bluebeam PDF. I mean, if you're using the driver, obviously it should be, but it's another thing to verify. You can also see your file size right here. All right.
All right,
David.
let me, are you going to read them or do you want me to keep copying over? What do you?
You keep copying over. I'm going to read David's question here. So this is a good one because I don't know the answer. Let's see if you do. I'll ask you because you don't need to demonstrate anything.
Okay.
Can spaces be set to capture information off of multiple sheets? So say if Office 115A here is on multiple pages. Can it do that? I think you'd have to have
it's per instance. Yeah.
Can you have two of the same space?
No, because I think even when you do the snapshot, it duplicates it, right?
Oh.
So create a snapshot and then paste it, Control V. Yeah.
Just over here. It doesn't create another space. It just does that. But
well, if you right click on it, what is it? Hold on. What are my options? Snapshot.
Create area measurement, delete, cut, copy, paste.
Because usually it would also bring the space with it too. But yeah, it's the instance of that singular space. It's not linked. You probably could if you knew JavaScript.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So I did a copy paste of it, and look what it did. It made a one, and I don't think I can rename that to match. I can. Look at that.
But the data is not going to be. It would be two different instances in your markups list, right? Which is what we're trying not to do. Right. Scroll down to your markups list. Let's see this.
Hang on, I want to grab one of these markups if I can. I got a draw order issue here, or have I flattened this? What is in my markups list? Yep, somebody was playing. There it is. There, I moved it over there. Oh, so here, multiple spaces with the same name. It does show up the same. So
order it by spaces, though. Order it by spaces.
Yeah, they all show up.
They all show up in the same space.
Yeah. So I don't think this would work on different pages.
Good question. Well, if he wants them to be all together, it's still ordering them together. So yeah, it still works. True. Yeah. Right.
And then here,
WL.
Yeah, you just set your column for page in the page label too, right? Then you can see what page it's on. So if you have multiple pages, then you can see it all there. Space name would be the same, which would allow you to work with the exported data.
Yeah. So if you're trying to have the same information under the same space, you name it the same because it's still logging it under that same data. Is that correct though? Scroll out. Is that, what was that? It was WL, right? What was that? That markup that you put in it?
The WL.
Is it there on the left? What is that on the left, the WL?
Oh,
it is. Yeah, it's electrical. Okay. I was looking for something with a W, but
right, I know. That one throws me off. Wrong location. Wrong location. So yeah, for this, if you did want to export the data and have it all filtered by these spaces, so regardless of what page it's on, right? So you have that filter capability here where you can just filter and choose what space you want, right? So if I filter, boom, only that space, and then here I can create that summary, right? If I'm doing CSV or PDF, let's do CSV for once. I can go through here, do what I need to do, include, my markups, do whatever I want, set my columns. I can turn all this off, and then when I'm filtering, it's already set to only give me the information for space for this office space, right? And there we go. So that's one way to do it. Snapshot of the space was a nice trick too. You haven't seen that before? Oh, come on, David. We do this all the time. Actually, I don't. Michael does this because he works with spaces and rooms and architectural stuff way more than I do.
Yeah, because
sometimes I'm jealous of that.
Yeah,
Can't lie.
Yeah, because those are the snapshot tool is great because you can then enlarge that area. So if you snapshot it and you want to make an enlarged area plan of something, you can just snapshot it and then make it larger from what it was by extending it up. So again, it's a great tool.
This. I'll grab my baggage screening, snapshot, and then I'll go to another page where I have a little bit more real estate. Do I have a page with more real estate?
Probably just insert a blank page.
Oh, let's do this. New file from template. Jason's got a 30 scale. Boom.
Ooh.
I'm going to drop this right in here. Look at that. Now I can have my full detail.
Yeah, and you can scale
enlarge this.
There you go.
And since I have measurements here, I can still calibrate and scale this accordingly, right? But this template that I use is already set to 30 scale. So I could have just dealt with it. Now I can go make whatever I want to as far as other doodles or detail or inserting fun things like people, because people like to walk around in baggage screening and they're usually in my way when I'm trying to go get my bags. Funny how that works, right? All right. What are the questions you got? Shoot me one from your list over there, Michael. Okay,
first one is Control K menu. What does it all mean?
I don't know. Okay, this is going to be a fun one. Ready? Control K. Anybody know what this does without cheating? All right, Control plus K. Here we go. Oh, it's just preferences, man. I would thought that one was Control P. Again, I really try not to learn hotkeys because I will always use hotkeys because I'm that guy. But if I'm using hotkeys, that's not explaining what I'm doing. So we just opened Pandora's box. Let's go for a trip down the rabbit hole, everybody. All right. Hands and feet in the vehicle at all times. Make sure your tray tables are properly stowed. This is the preferences, and there's a lot in here. And for most people, you don't have to touch anything, right? So I'm going to do this in two ways. First way, I'm going to show you the things that most people should mess with. And then I'll stop there and we'll come back into it and then we'll go deeper down the rabbit hole. All right. So when you first open your preferences, you're going to start on the general option and then you have more options here. So in the general tab, what do you call these tabs? General section and then options, document, navigation, grid and snap, and spelling, right?
I call them tabs.
So in general, on options, the first thing that I recommend people do is change your username, right? So Jartley, that's sort of a nickname. It's my thing. If I put my actual name there, this is what shows up in the markups list. So if you have a abbreviation or something like that, this is usually assigned when you install the software, right? So this username, fill this out. Sometimes I do this. That way you know who I am and where I came from when I'm making markups, and that's the name that shows up there. The other thing to check is the theme. Maybe you don't like the dark theme and you like the light theme, and you also hate your retinas. Hey, that's okay. Ready? Hide your eyes. Ew.
Yeah.
I don't. This is
it feels so foreign.
Yeah. No, thank you. All right. Sorry. Okay. Whew. That was something else. All right. So if you like the light theme, you can go ahead and change it here. So those are the two things so far. There's one more thing that I want you to check. Over here on the grid and snap option menu, make sure that you're set to snap to markup and snap to content, right? You can do this other places, but while you're in here, these are things to do. So if you're updating review or if you just get it installed, start here. Go to the preferences, set these couple different options, and then begin your work.
Yep.
I'll close that. That's the most that most folks need to know, right? Well, let's open that up again. If you wanted to go do more, here on the options, we have, our themes, we've got our startup mode, there's all sorts of things in here. Under document, we can enable document recovery. We can do certain things. Again, most people don't need to mess with this stuff. Navigation. Now, this is one that I used to do a lot. Reverse mouse wheel when zooming. Depending on the CAD software that you use, or if you're used to different software, sometimes it zooms in a different way. You can fix that right here with this option right here, which is pretty nice, honestly, when I've done this before. There's also a 3D mouse option. If you have a 3D mouse, I have one, but I don't really use it very often. It actually works well with 3D PDFs. You can have scroll bars if you want them. I don't want them. All right, I took it off. Vertical scroll on left is interesting, right? So what that's doing, I wish there was an apply here. How come there's no apply button? Because I don't want to hit OK now, because I'm going to have to come back in.
Well, just keep going through and we're not going to show changes. Okay. Just keep them,
so, yeah. I can do a vertical scroll bar at left or a horizontal mouse wheel, which is kind of interesting. Grid and snap, you can change your units. If you're working in millimeters or metric, go ahead and do that here. Sometimes I do like to change my snap color to red. It does make it a little bit more visible. Again, coming from a CAD background, I kind of like to match what I can so it's familiar to me. And then spelling. This question came up yesterday. So we had a client reach out to us and say, hey, we work in a unique industry and we have a lot of words that show up as misspelled, but they're really not, right? So like our company name, or maybe we're working with certain brands of fittings, or whatever. How do we make our own stuff? And here you have the ability to create custom contents, right? So if my word is Michael's name, I can start adding in all these things, right? ATG is not misspelled. I can start doing review. Actually, I wonder if that would actually show up as misspelled. But I can create all these things, and then when I'm done, I can export that library, and it's an XML file that will keep all those things. You can also import other dictionaries too, if you're dealing with a different language. These are a zip file. A lot of these are found on the Bluebeam website. So you can, if you're not working in English or Spanish or French or whatever, you can get one that's customized for your area. I'm set up with English. I can add my custom words. Again, these are preferences that you can export, share them with your company. It really makes life easy when doing spell checks, because spell check is important. Nobody's perfect. So you have that capability. That's all your general stuff, right? Interface. Here you can set your recent files. This is what I like to use a lot. Maybe you don't want to do this, though. Maybe you want your recent history to go forever. This is where we need that little YouTube pops up with forever from Sandlot. Anyway. So with this, we can set our items in recent. 20 is a lot. SharePoint options. I don't know what this means. Markups list. All this stuff is pretty generic, and I don't mess around with this stuff. Hide your child layers. That's a good one. Here under tools, we've got markup, measure, sketch, forms, and signature. Digital ID locations. These are some good stuff. Password timeout. This is a good one too, especially if you're working in an office and you're doing stuff. Once you log in, it can keep you logged in. So this is a good one to change if you're doing digital signatures. And then this one right here. Restrict changes that invalidate digital signatures. Right? I kind of bounced around there. Markup, reuse tools. That can also be set up. There's an option in here too.
Auto size text box.
This one right here. This is one that we both learned from Kyle Davis. Our support. Jedi. Is Jedi too strong of a word for him? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. Auto size text box is right here. I'm going to leave that checked on. Embed fonts, that's a good one.
I didn't see this drag behavior. What's the drag behavior if you drop down? What are your other options? So drag behavior for shapes.
Oh,
what's the drop down?
Drag rectangles and drag curves. Yeah, let's change some things. I can always reset. Include markups and snapshots. Include markups and snapshots from spaces. So this one goes back to what we just talked about a couple minutes ago.
Look at that. That's a hidden one.
That's a good one right here. So you'll notice, I already changed my page.
But is that going to create duplicates? So that's going to be your question. Do you want to have duplicates from your snapshot? Probably not. So
that's true. Good point.
Unless you're trying to create its own markups list for that own instance of that page, which would make sense. But if you're doing a snapshot and keeping it on the page, you're going to have two of the same markups.
Correct. Dynamic fill input. If you're using dynamic fill for areas or spaces or any sort of hatching, this is one of those things that could lead to a larger file size. Do you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're using dynamic fill, which is one of my favorite tools, drop that down. You're probably not going to see it on the screen, but it'll print nicer.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going to be compressed with whatever the DPI is of you exporting the total file type, but yeah. And again, check that for Civil 3D, because sometimes, I mean, I know Revit sometimes starts out with 600, so.
This one, I don't like this one. Momentarily hide markups if you're using dynamic fill a lot. So if I'm going through and I'm doing my area measurements or whatever, whenever I hit that dynamic fill button again, everything goes away. And I freak out for a minute. Like, I want to add more? Where did I already go? If you momentarily hide markups, if you uncheck this, it will show all of your markups through the entire dynamic fill process. So that's a good one. Fill color, green, boundary color. Some of the stuff is kind of silly. Sketching, and then our forms. Again, form is a extreme only function. Here in Studio, attempt to check out files on open. Don't do that one. I don't recommend that. Enable flashing effect. This is a good one, but if you're sensitive to flashing, you can turn that off. Nice of Bluebeam to include inclusionary options. Open and save from toolbar only. Force proxy views. I don't know what that means. Open project documents in split view. This is a toggle, right? So when you open a project, it will say, do you want to open in split view? So if you set this, that option won't pop up. And then here you have your servers. Thanks for coming, David. We'll see you next week. All right. Here in window, we've got tablet zoom. So if you are using on a Surface, because this version of Review does not work on an iPad. Speaking of iPads, I started writing a blog on how to get started with the iPad Review, and that will be published someday.
Nice.
All right. Presentation mode. Presentation mode. I actually saw a client use this the other day, and it blew my mind because not many people use this or even know about it. There are options for that. Auto advancing. If you wanted to do that and actually do like a PowerPoint type of thing with Review, you have that capability. And then your web tab. So I use the web tab all the time. It's super handy. Here, I didn't know you could do this. So I work with Review all the time. I'm constantly doing training and demo and morning coffee review, and I'm messing all sorts of things up with my Review. And not breaking it because it's a pretty stable program, but like I'm moving things around to show that it can be done, right? So I reset my Review frequently, which means I always reset my favorites. And I use my web tab in Review for licensing and the custom tools and things like that. Here, I didn't know that there was a standard or an export button for this. So now I can back up my settings before I reset Review. This is exciting. All right. we've got options there. Again, if you're working with anything frequently in review, chances are there's a setting for it, and chances are you can export and import those settings. So if you wanted to set things up that work with your particular workflow, export your settings, back them up. If you get a new computer, if you get a new version of review or whatever, have that stuff so you don't have to come back through here.
And we've talked about this for deployment. All of these preferences can be set up for deployment for your team. So during your deployment, you can import and export your preference. You can point to a folder. So again, if you want everyone to be on the same page, you can have this predetermined.
Now, here on sets, so I'm gonna talk about CAD again. There's something called the National CAD Standard, and this is pretty close to all of them, right? There's no survey on here. There's and yeah, these are all correct, right? Yeah. For the National CAD Standard, and you can change these if you have your own company specific way that you set your plans up. You can create these, right? Create your own categories. Again, save it, export it, share it with your team. Everything ready to go. You can export these. Yeah.
And these categories are specific to your sets, by the way. This is only sets when we're creating sets, and that is visually combining, and it's proprietary to Bluebeam. It's visually combining your PDFs into one set, but they're not really together. It's a way to, majority of the time I'm having clients do this is because the set is too large, file size is too large, and it's hard to render a lot of our PDFs when we have, I don't know, over 250, maybe 300 PDFs. How can we separate them out as individuals? Doing sets is what I always recommend, and that's the way we would do that. So
once you have this set up the way you like it, all you got to do is hit save as here, and that will create that XML file, and then you can have that set. So here is a construction set that comes with review, but if you wanted to make one for your company standard, you just drop it in here. So my ATG one is there, and now I have that template capability. And if I were on the receiving end of this, all I would have to do is click load, grab that XML file, and then that category would show up.
Nope. Bookmarks, again, are grabbing live data or your data from your labels. Sets is completely different from your bookmarks.
Sarah's got a good question, and I'm looking right at you. You better get your screen ready because you're going to be sharing.
Oh, is there in the Q&A? I have this covered.
Yeah. I could do it, but Michael's the man. So I'll let him show his passion and expertise on digital dashboards here in a second. Advanced. Now, this is one that we have used before that has come up. 3D rendering. What's your rendering issue, or are you using hardware or software? Right. So maybe 5% of people would need to get in here.
Yeah, there was an issue. Kyle brought this up the other day that there was an issue, a known issue with, I don't remember which one it was, but yeah, it was like 5%. He was saying that had to be switched from hardware to the legacy. So yeah.
Boom, right here. And then admin, obviously, here's your reset, here's your backup, right? So when I'm at some point today, probably I will hit reset, set review back to default, and then get it loaded up, get it all set the way I like it, and then I'm going to back up my stuff because I always forget. So that's on my to-do list today. So yeah, the preferences are very handy. There's a ton of things in here that can help you do whatever you need to do inside of review. Look at that. How's that for rhyming? But as I mentioned, there's only a couple of these that most people should mess with. Now, I wanted to stop at this one. Full screen crosshair. You know who you are. If you're an AutoCAD user who likes the full screen crosshair, pointing at me. Sometimes.
Oh, is that you?
I'm getting better. I'm getting better.
Old habit. I can't stand it.
Well, I'm old. Okay, Michael. I've been using AutoCAD since before.
We don't use the word old. We called it seasoned. But
I'm gonna have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there. Okay. Yeah, preferences. Awesome. Good question. Thanks for that. Thank you everybody for asking questions. And in case I forget to mention it, nice to see faces and names that I haven't seen on Morning Coffee Review before. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review. All right, Michael.
Is our website down too, Jason, right now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We're having some technical issues.
So let me share my screen.
Yep.
I would recommend going to our resources pages. It is slow at the moment. Okay, that's probably why. I can't copy this. Oh, no, there we go. It was just slow. So here is digital dashboards and how to create them. I put that directly to the ATG events. So I'm sorry, I'm sending that to DJCJ. I meant everybody. No, wait, everyone. There we go.
There you go. So in the Zoom chat, Michael posted that link.
Yes, this is a white paper we did, well, I did on digital dashboards. So if you're looking on how to create them, there are some things I didn't add. So if you need to get more details about it, feel free to email me or email us here at ATG. But this is a great read through them. It's free. So by all means, check it out. If not, there's a video on digital dashboards as well that I did for one of our webinars. So on our YouTube channel, right? So if you haven't visited our YouTube channel, highly suggest it. So if you go to YouTube, you can then go to ATG USA, so ATG USA, and from here you can go and look at, there's titles. So you could go to all videos, but if you look at here, you can see titles, and there's Bluebeam right here. You can go through and look at all of our Bluebeam items, or any of our morning coffee reviews, because we've also talked about it in there, but I will give you a run through. It really depends on where we're going to be creating our dashboard. I prefer the method of creating it in a project so that then we can add project partners to the studio project and we don't have to worry about where the PDFs are being stored at. An example, if it's stored on the server, if we have someone from exterior trying to gain access to our dashboard, they're not going to be able to open up the documents, right? I did have one user, and I think it was somebody in here, and I don't know if they have come back or not. It was they wanted to do it to a Google Drive, and you can link to a Google Drive as well. So that would be another option because it would pull up the Google Drive. But that, I think that person probably has to have an email if I remember using Google Drive in that manner in order to access those files as well. But what is a digital dashboard? It is a visual representation of getting access to our documents. So instead of having an archaic way of going through and navigating through our file structure that maybe someone is not aware of or doesn't know how it's being utilized or how this company and that company does their organizations, what's the best way to get easy access to documents? It is a digital dashboard. And we'll talk about, your question was mainly, hey, it seems like a manual process. It is for the first time. And then after that, it's pretty downhill, easy, streamlined because you're just replacing a lot of these buttons as you're going through. And yes, you are adding actions to different areas, but you can create this folder structure like this. There's no way of getting around of placing a button. I mean, it could already have an action to it, but you're probably going to want to separate it because when you're doing it in a project, that project is a different link, right? So no matter what, it would be a manual process. But as you go through here, what does it do and what's so great about it? Again, versus going through and navigating your file structure like here on the left-hand side for my project, which would be the same thing as me going through in my file explorer and navigating from where my explorer is they can go through here and at clickable buttons, right? They want to get access to drawings. They can go to drawings. Hey, let's go to our architectural sets, go to our architectural sets and wall sections, right? We can go and open up any of our items for here. This was in a large plan in the wrong area, but that's fine. Right? And what you're doing is you're having these actions jump to a folder versus a PDF. So maintenance isn't that hard once it's started, right? Once it's inception is done, it's created, people can go through and look at it. You're jumping through to folders versus the PDFs. So these can be updated if there's revisions or it's checked out for a session and then brought back into the project. We don't have to worry about that because again, it jumps to a folder versus the PDF itself, right? And one other question may be, hey, well, what if our project partners don't have a license of review? They still can get access to studio projects for free. They just need to download the software. even if it turns into view mode, they can still get full access to Studio projects in terms of looking at the PDFs. And this could be for any document, right? If we're ringing back what is Studio projects, it gets any file type except an executable, which I learned for those files. So it could be an Excel, right? And if they wanted to open up the Excel file for it, there can even be the URL, right? Which we've talked about, that this has a browser in it. So you can figure out what the weather is specific to the site. These pop-ups are the one things I don't talk about in the dashboards. If you want to, we can offer some training on it. And that is using JavaScript on how we can have built out information from here as well. And this doesn't just need to be for projects. This could be for internal use as well, right? Maybe we need to go through and get access to internal training documents, right? We have this for our team as well. So if you want to go through and look for specific things, you can go through and do that. Like, hey, here's home, and we're looking at the architectural realm. And maybe we're going to go and look at, I don't know, training outlines or SWs or data sets, right? Let's go look at our data sets. And here's some data sets that we can gain access to as well.
It's a really amazing workflow. I mean, it's kind of simple, but at the same time, as Michael said, once it's set up, it's easy to roll with, and most people can navigate this without having issues. So even if you are tech savvy, it's nice to have the easy button, right? I just want to get in, grab my stuff, and get out, and not have to think. Question here from Jason. Can someone invited to the dashboard make markups if they don't have review?
For the first 30 days, they can, because if they download the license of review, it's full license of review for the first 30 days. And how it works in a Studio project is a check-in, check-out basis. So they have to check out the PDF like a book and then check it back in. Now, you can check a document. Actually, I'd have to try that. I don't know if that works if you have a license or review, if you can still check it out. Because I'm thinking, well, you could probably do it in Excel if you have Microsoft, right? Office Suite, because you could check it out and then just you work in whatever is yours. But you couldn't mark up as a PDF from there because you don't have use for all of your markup capability tools.
Yeah, I don't think that would work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I know it doesn't work, but you can in the session. So if you wanted them to mark up and you're like, well, hey, we'll create a session from our dashboard, because you can do that from here. You can have your files, which we talked about last week, I believe, right? You can create a session from your PDFs in your project, which could be from your dashboard. You could create your session, and then in the session, if they don't have a license of review, they can still mark up.
Yep. So projects, limited capabilities, sessions, full capabilities. And I say that with a big old asterisk, because even regardless of license status, not every function is available in a session. But if you don't have a license and you want somebody, or if you want somebody who doesn't have a license to be able to make markups, put it in a session, not a project.
But be aware, there's the caveat that it's not the reason why they limit it and things in it is because of that very reason. They want people to collaborate, even if they don't own a license, right? They don't want to tie your hands behind your back and say you can't collaborate with markups. But there's the caveat that now that they remove things from it, right? So it's a give and take. We can't just give everyone the full license of it for free. They have to pay for it.
Absolutely. All right. Let's look in your little list of questions. What do we got?
Okay, so no one else has any questions? Are we good on the YouTube land? I have wrote down all of my questions here, so let's start going through them. We have 32 questions.
Oh boy, we got about 21 minutes, so pick a good one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Let me pick one. We'll just run through them and then we'll say skip or not. So this first one is example of custom applications built on top of Bluebeam Review. That would be more of using JavaScripting, and if you wanted to have some kind of insert, I know there's been some examples that I can't personally talk about, but there are ways to build on top of review using JavaScript. So if you wanted to create your own window, maybe exports to files and how items are being stored, again, you can build on top of it yourself. Popular add-ins in Bluebeam. I don't know of any add-ins that you add into review.
That was a question that I was going to ask everybody. So we got a question from a client the other day. Does Bluebeam work with a software called QuoteSoft. And I hadn't heard of QuoteSoft before, and I Googled it and I looked, and it does work with PDFs and it works with CSV files, but they're competing products, right? They're probably not going to work together very well, but through that CSV. So I figured if anybody out there on Zoom or YouTube land has worked with QuoteSoft and can verify that, that would be handy to know.
Well, so the open API for review is through Studio Prime. So that's how you can get open integration. So you could leverage the open integration into QuoteSoft if you wanted to. Again, you just need to know coding. So if you know a language of coding, particularly JavaScript, because that's what review runs off of, then you'll have that ability as well to use the open API to leverage some of the capabilities within the software.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also need a license of Studio Prime subscription, which is
I was going to say,
right? I think
almost got you there.
Next one, can you do a coffee club topic on plotting from ACAD, Civil 3D, and Revit using the Bluebeam app? We've done that before. Feel free to see one of our older ones where we did exporting out, and that was probably us reading this, and then we did a topic on it.
We did a whole subject on review CAD,
yes.
and what that means, because it's more than just, you know, CAD. Obviously, it's all the plugins for Word and Excel and Navisworks and Revit and Civil 3D and AutoCAD. So yeah, go to our YouTube channel and look at the Bluebeam playlist. It will be in there probably a month or two ago.
Yep. Another one's layers. We talked about layers. Document security. You can create a document security under documents and add security here. So it's right here. There's another one that is any tool that is not used often but very beneficial, speeding up the process, reducing file sizes. Yep, we talked about that a little bit earlier, reducing file sizes. So you have document, you can reduce. I always recommend doing Control-D, seeing who your producer was, and then rewriting it. So going File, Create from File, a new PDF from Bluebeam written PDF. You can also create a new file from the same thing of just going from here. If you click on a PDF, I have all of these. Let me just go to here. If you right click on one, you have combine or convert files in review. So you have these same tools as well in here. Not combined, you would do convert files. That would rewrite it as a written PDF. And those are installed when you install your versions of review. And you can not have that installed if you want to refer back to one of our deployments that we did with Kyle Davis, who's a certified support representative. Feel free to refer back to that. And, hey, how did that get installed? We don't want those installed or anything like that. So let's cross this out. And looks like there's a question in the chat, right?
Yep.
Are we good?
So here's a good question from Chris. Thanks for this, Chris. What is better? What's the best way to combine files in review? Because there's a couple ways to do it. So you can combine with that right-click menu that he just showed, or we can, there we go, combine files in review. This opens up the Bluebeam stapler. And the stapler is actually pretty darn handy. I like using that wizard button because what this will do, after you're clicking, I'll let you talk about it.
No, as you talk through it as I go.
Okay. So with this, you can add all sorts of files. They do not have to be PDF files. You can do your Word documents, your Excel, and whatever, as long as your page setups are right. It will combine them and convert them to a PDF at the same time. Now, one way you keep bookmarks. Bookmarks should stick with. I don't know if different files have.
Yeah, and they do stay with them if you do it this way. Because when you're combining, so let's say I did this too. Right? This is when you say include bookmarks. The other way doesn't have that option, I don't think. Let me go back to combined. Does it have it in the settings in this one, Wizard?
With subfolders, options. Oh, interesting. Enable. Why wouldn't it have that? Why is the configure grayed out? Maybe because you had files open already.
Oh, it select the file.
Oh,
It's just rotation. Yeah.
so yeah, no bookmarks will stay using the stapler. This is interesting, probably because it doesn't know how to combine. Well, it does know how to combine though.
Well, you said other file types. That's probably why. It's also allowed for other file types, so maybe that's why as well.
There's only the combine inside of review will only do PDFs, right? The stapler will do all the other files.
So from in here, file combined, right? This is when you're going to grab your PDF format because that's all you can grab. And then from there,
Got it.
you can include all of these. Yeah.
All right, that's a good question. I like things like that where I'm not positive, so I just learned something. I'm going home. Oh wait, I'm already home. All right.
Next one. So can we get a reoccurring meeting invite? DJ CJ, who's the brains behind the scene here, who gets the email out to everybody, make sure we're on top of it by asking us questions of what we're going to talk about. And if we ever don't post on our LinkedIn or any of our social media, that's basically you'll get an email no matter what from DJ CJ, who will tell you what our topic is going to be. So just be aware of that. And she set up
based on that feedback.
Yep. So all feedback is welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, working with sets. We talked about that on one of ours as well. We also talked about tags. These were, again, feedback. Everyone, when you ask or answer or reply to us in those surveys, we do listen.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're here to do. We're here to help the community. So anything you have for us, we will take the feedback. And I believe there was one, I think it was from David, that we should learn a little bit more on Excel. And when we have time, I promise we will learn more Excel.
Speaking of Excel, did you notice on the Global e-training that there's a pretty good Excel course, and we have access to that?
Matt Lynn took it. Yeah, he's recommended it. So.
If you are an ATG customer, you have access to Global e-training, which is a fantastic online learning platform. There are some Bluebeam classes. There's Review. There's not Review. There's Revit. There's AutoCAD. There's all sorts of things. If you are an ATG customer, reach out to your rep and see how you can get access, because we all like learning. That's why we're here today. And yeah, there's that. Another question from Sarah. This is a good one. The Bluebeam Drawings portal and the Drawings app. So we covered Bluebeam Drawings a little bit last week when we were talking about sessions and sharing files otherwise, but the app on the phone works very similarly, right?
The only and look up, I showed it in there. The only caveat to the drawings on the app is you have to go into the web browser to join the project. So just be aware of that. The app is great. There's just no join project button there. You have to go to the URL of drawings. It's drawings.bluebeam.com, I believe, is the URL. And that will then give you there. And again, we did that last week's series. And if it comes up again, we can definitely show it. But there's a ton of videos that we've done displaying how drawings work as well, and particularly just last week's video. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you can see it there and see how it works. But basically, it's quick access to PDFs out in the field. The only way to get access to drawings is having active maintenance in terms of uploading. Anyone can download the app and view PDFs, and again, it's to view PDFs. But in order for you to upload the PDFs from either a project or your desktop, you have to have active maintenance on your license. Anything else to add to that, Jason?
You covered it all. It's a pretty cool function. I was using it the other day while I was working on some instructions, and I was putting something together in the garage, and I just had it on my phone.
Something together in the garage. Here, I can show mine if you want me to sign in real quick.
Sure. Are you signing in on your phone?
We'll just do it from my iPad and we'll cast it real quick because we figured how easy it is to cast now. So I don't have to join.
My iPad's in the other room, so Michael
just gotta type my password so not everyone sees it.
He's logging into his Bluebeam Drawings app on his iPad, and then he's gonna share that screen. Okay, another question. Is it right that you can view from the app without a connection as long as you connect and download any Bingo. As long as you connect and download any updates at the beginning of the day before you leave, they should still work offline. I know that's how sessions works too. So the alternate is if you have, a Surface or an iPad and you join the session, you can work offline. There we go. So now we're looking at Michael's iPad.
Yep. So here's the drawings for it. Again, you have to download them. So I have file share and training example, but you're able to click into them. And again, there is no join from here. So at this front screen, I can't go and join a project. I can remove a project, but I can't join from here. So you have to log into your URL to officially join the project because there is no join from here, unfortunately. That's the only downside. But I can go in and go to file share, and then I can look at my PDF. So if I wanted to go through and pick up one of my PDFs, I can go and zoom in, look at this while I'm out in the field. No, you cannot mark up. If I were to want to mark up on these PDFs, I would be utilizing a session, which you can also have the free iPad app as well, or the paid for iPad app, or Surface Pro. You can use a full license of review as well. There are differences. Jason said he's coming out with an iPad app deployment or how
Blog.
to start out blog on it. But again, you can go through here, and if you have any revisions, right, and you were saying, hey, download, if you downloaded any of the older revisions, you can actually see them in here as well. So
that blog is still yet to be completed, and then once it's all done, it'll get go through our marketing cycle. So it'll be up in the next month or two.
What do you use a cast? This is just casting from Zoom. So up here on the top right, you can see this mirroring here. And in the share button in Zoom, there's an iPhone, iPad you can share from, and it's casting from there. So I'm guessing it's Bluetooth probably, and they're
Or
just
Wi-Fi.
picking it up. Yeah, or it's probably Wi-Fi.
So it's pretty cool. I just learned that a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Sessions ago. All right. Good questions. Keep them rolling. So yeah, Sarah, you have your folks open up their device in the morning, grab the files that they need before they leave and lose their internet connection, because then they'll be able to see what they need to see.
And that app is for Android or iPhone. So again, yeah.
Drawings works anywhere you have a any web browser. Drawings will work with. Sessions will work with an iPad or any Windows-based tablet, and the Drawings app itself is for Android or iOS. So not everything is compatible. There's no Bluebeam for Mac, etc. Ooh, good question from Chris. I like this one. All right, what are the advantages of a PDF package?
So PDF package is kind of a bundle. It's the advantages are stacking items together. You'll automatically get a PDF package, by the way, when you create a session, which is combining all of your PDFs with a report, which then has like a hyperlink to those PDFs in your package. So just think of it as an extension of a folder. It is a folder essentially, is your package is a folder, and you can store items in there together in one area. And it's seen as a .pdf extension, by the way, which is huge because you don't have to worry in terms of it being not compatible with a PDF item because it's the extension of .pdf. Anything else to add to that one?
Nope. When you do a summary of your session, and you do have an option to not use that package report too. Those are they shareable? Yes.
It's an extension of .pdf. I don't know if it's going to open up in review or in a different software, and how it's going to interact. That would have to be tested. I've never done that. So if anyone does have experience, feel free to.
White paper error. XML file does not appear to have a style associated with it.
Which white paper is that?
PDF. Probably your dashboard's white paper. That's a DJ CJ thing, maybe. Yeah, she went to go download it from the link you set and got an error. So DJ
Okay,
CJ will reach
CJ
out.
Yeah,
Um,
she'll get to you, Beth.
and then Sarah said the PDF packages are not allowed in the drawings portal.
Correct, because it's just PDFs.
All right, good questions, everybody. So we got about 5 minutes left. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here at Morning Coffee Review. Let's do one more question from your list, and then if we've got time left, we'll answer some from the chat. So find a good one on your list there. You said you had like over 30 something, and I know we can't get through them all, but I know there's been some great topics and good questions that have come across from those surveys, and today's the perfect day to answer them.
I guess this is just more of a statement. Bluebeam training. So we offer training here at ATG USA. So Jason or myself are Bluebeam certified instructors, as well as we hold a couple of other certifications. And we do offer training here. So if you want to sit down and have us write out a custom training outline or maybe a pre-packaged training outline, we do offer that here at ATG. So if you ever have any questions about training, or as always, come in here, ask any questions. Just remember, this Q&A time is honestly always open. So this Q&A that we had today, even though we offer topics, those topics are, again, just to fill the time. Like our filling in the time is asking old questions people had asked that maybe we hadn't gone through. And as we're going through this, I'm crossing off things we already did cover, right? So again, at any time, feel free to ask us any questions. We always offer Bluebeam training here as well. So feel free to reach out to us and get a custom outline or something that's prepackaged specific. We also don't just do training. We can create your custom tool sets. So if that's something you want us to do as well, maybe you don't have time on your hands to create these custom tool sets to start your job, or custom profiles. If you need help with deployment, any of those items, we're always here to help.
Dashboards, like you name it,
yep.
Whatever. And not to plug more, but it doesn't just work for Bluebeam, right? We're a full service provider for Autodesk as well. So AutoCAD, Revit, Civil 3D. If you need production help, we were talking about this earlier, making those material lists for Nathan. Maybe not. But if you need some red lines done, reach out. We can help you with all sorts of things.
Yep.
All right, back to Bluebeam questions.
Okay. Next one was placing photos in review. Is there a way to tuck them under the line work? So you can, that would be a transparent. Yeah, that would be how you're bringing it in as well. So I have a transparent logo here, but if I go here and bring it, right, you also have, hey, what is the opacity? That would be the fill though. I think there's a way, isn't there in properties? Let's see.
You might be able to also snapshot that area and then do a draw order.
Okay. So you're thinking snapshot? Let's see.
There's an opacity right there, 100.
But I think that's the fill, right?
Yeah,
no, it's the opacity of it. So that's kind of showing it.
Yeah. That's one way to do it.
But even if you send it back, it's not going to, because it's not seen as a. There is no.
Oh, that opacity trick would work pretty well. I'm thinking of like using an aerial photo from like Google Earth or something and being able to add this to my PDF out and not have to have it in my CAD drawing, which makes my CAD file larger. This could be a nice little trick.
I was hoping they'd give me a stamp option where it's like a blend mode, right? But
oh, there you go.
Yeah, there isn't.
Well, what if you used that image and created a stamp from it? I think it would depend on the type of image that you're working with, right? And maybe that workflow is a bit ridiculous for something. But if you're looking at, wouldn't this detail be cool if it actually had like a picture of concrete and it had a picture of dirt and it had a picture of insulation or fill or whatever? That would be a neat way to level up your details.
I guess so. Yeah. But that would be thinking that everyone doesn't that everyone uses PDFs, right? Versus printing out the document. Another way is also, instead of putting the photo here, you can attach your photos to the markup. So if you right click and you go here and you can say, I'm going to add an action. And from here, oh no, it's not an action, it's an actual image. So from here, I can go down and do the capture and do from file, and I can grab my images if I wanted to go through. And you could do 360 photos, by the way, if any of us use 360 photos. I'm gonna add a 360 photo. And then I'm also going to add a random photo that I have here from camera roll. Did this one the other day. So here's this 360.
Whoa.
That you can add from it if you're able to do 360 photos. And I download this from Flickr from this gentleman. I'll give him credit here in a second, which was a bobcat on top of our trees. And I forget the guy's name. 1 second on Flickr. Probably need to give him credit. Hold on.
Yeah, you mentioned it the other day. It was David Silva.
It's this David Silva guy. Check him out. Here's his pictures. That's what happened when I downloaded it. So,
follow up from DJ CJ. So we're having some internal issues with our website and our email. So if you find us slow to respond to email, that's why. But our website is tied to that, and that's why they're having issues with white papers. Keep an eye out for an email later this week. Once we get everything sorted out, there will be an email sent out about a link to that white paper. So thanks for letting us know, Beth. That was helpful. I'm sure our website folks would love another issue sent their way. All right, we are at time. Thank you all for coming. Thank you out there on YouTube. Thank you on Zoom. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, DJ CJ. We will see you next week. Any last words, Michael?
Nope. Thanks, everyone. We look forward to seeing you next week. And if we don't get a video out because we are busy, remember our emails will be sent out as well. Hopefully, if it gets fixed in time, and DJ CJ will be on top of that as well. So thanks, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
See you next week.